At least it was short. Manhunt was written by James Patterson and James O. Bourne. O. Bourne, huh? Why not just James Bourne? The O just complicates things. You're not a fantasy writer, dude. Keep your initials out of it, alright? Anyway, similar to The Exile, Manhunt is a mystery-type thriller, partially written by James Patterson. And it's a part of the Bookshot series, which are small bite-sized novellas that are quick to read. Which, okay, whatever. As long as they're well written, I don't care. But, guess what? Manhunt wasn't well written. Okay, listen, it's not as bad as The Exile or Demon Seed, but Christ, this thing was boring. A part of me thinks I should have just done a 1-minute Mania review of this book, but there are some issues that I have that might take a little longer to explain. First of all, I will applaud Patterson and Bourne and say that as writers they do mesh well. Unlike The Exile, where you could tell a different writer took the reins halfway through, here you can tell it isn't just Patterson, but it blends well. Secondly, for what it's worth, the dialogue between the main lead Michael and his partner Daria have some chuckle-worthy moments. Now on to everything else that's wrong. None of the characters feel real. The way they talk, the way they act, the way that they communicate with one another, they just feel like cardboard. Cardboard cutout characters who exist to push the story along. One of the best examples of this is how Michael constantly refers to his fiancée as Mary Catherine. He never calls her baby, sweetie, Mary Cat, or babe. It's just Mary Catherine. Real people have nicknames for one another. If you read a book where the author's actually really good at writing dialogue, they'll have nicknames for friends. There's a certain way that they act that just makes them feel like real, flesh and blood human beings. Here it just feels like a robot was assigned to write a relationship, and it came out as Human Michael loves Mary Catherine. On top of that, Michael has his family of like 9 kids, and while a couple of them do get some time in the light, most are just kind of sidelined. Bourne and Patterson gave him this interesting family setup and did nothing with it. The book would have benefited from being longer, maybe make the characters less wooden, make the kids more interesting, dedicate more time to the family. As it stands, they could have taken the family out and just had him as a bachelor trying to solve the case, and the story would be no different. Also, he has a son named Brian, who gets arrested for selling drugs. And the first chapter, before they go to the Thanksgiving parade where the plot starts, they're talking to him on the phone while he's behind bars. Michael goes on about how his kids are good kids even though they make mistakes, and that's it for Brian. He never appears again. This just goes to show how pointless the fiancé and family are. Yeah, his grandfather helps him track down the bad guy, but that could have easily been done by another detective. So, the plot is Michael and his totally necessary family unit go to a Thanksgiving Day parade, and some whack job terrorist runs a van through the crowd and blows it up. No one important to Michael dies, but he ends up working with the FBI and a Russian informant to track down the terrorist, and blah, 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 blah. Fuck me, this book is boring. I did myself a disservice reviewing it because it's really hard to remember details about Manhunt. Daria is a badass Russian woman who doesn't take shit from anyone. She ends up killing a bad guy at the end, and then she says she's gonna stay in America for a bit, after which she disappears. Any other characters outside of Michael and Daria are only really there because the book needs to push itself along somehow. The grandfather only exists to help Michael get information. The FBI leader, Don Santos, only exists to get the ball rolling, but, does dick all after the fact. Michael has cop buddies that only really exist for a couple of phone calls that go nowhere. None of these characters have any personality traits. I couldn't tell you shit about any of them. They're all just so wooden and cardboard and only exist to push the story along, and that's it. Now, there are a couple other minor things that I wanted to talk about that stood out to me. For instance, now I'm not a religious person, so I may be wrong saying this, but Michael's grandfather says that he's a man of the cloth. And I figured since Michael sends his kids to Catholic school, his grandfather must be Catholic. Aren't Catholic clergymen banned from marriage and sex? There was no backstory about how Mike's grandpa fell out of the faith because the calling for Poon was greater than the call for God. So all I can think of is this guy was a Catholic clergyman, but he managed to have a family in a religion that doesn't allow you to get laid or married if you're a part of the upper echelon of the Catholic faith. Also, there's 30 chapters in this 112-page book, meaning that sometimes chapter breaks are dropped in the middle of conversations, and said conversation picks up after the chapter break. Honestly, this thing only had 3 or 4 instances where a chapter break was necessary, but they managed to fit 30 of them in. At the end of the day, aside from those tiny things, I can't really think of anything else when it comes to Manhunt. It's a by-the-numbers, forgettable mystery thriller with wooden characters, simplistic writing, and nothing about it is remotely memorable. I'm just gonna give it a C- and be done with it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, maybe you should like, comment, subscribe. If not, feel free to watch any of my other videos. I have one right up here for you in case you're interested. Also, why not stop by my Facebook page? I like to post things about videos, books that I'm reading, and stories. I also like to post polls, get different opinions from viewers about what books I should read, and who knows, maybe I'll find a book that I actually really like. Either way, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.